TV Girl is a band known for their distinct style that often includes crunchy, looping samples. These samples are rarely from popular bands or well-known songs, though. Instead, they are from incredibly hidden and niche pieces of music. In a 2018 Reddit AMA, frontman Brad Petering said, "The one advantage that I do have is that I never get tired of seeking out old and obscure music. I just listen to lots of music and I find my loops and sounds that way." According to That Music Merchant on YouTube, one reason TV Girl samples obscure songs is because of an early controversy over one of their samples. Obscure samples are less likely to be copyrighted and protected by the original owners, and if so, are easier to contact and receive a response from to ask for permission and clear the sample. Although it has been debated, TV Girl does clear all of their samples from now on. In the extended album credits of most of them, the sampled artists are listed. The 2024 collab album Fauxllennium with George Clanton is no exception to this style of deep cut samples. On this record though, 3 of the samples used have more to them than meets the eye. Some of TV Girl's samples, even from albums outside of Fauxllennium, are connected, and in addition, they are connected to the broader music industry in unexpected ways. This first chapter follows the mystery of a musician potentially impersonated by artificial intelligence. Our story starts in Japan with a talented ambient musician named Shiho Yabuki. In the 1980s, she created and recorded several ambient works in collaboration with the Kanebo Beauty Research Laboratory. Yabuki and the laboratory were researching the effects of ambient music on skin health and were testing if specific meditative music would improve skin quality. At the time, this collection of ambient songs was kept specifically for research purposes and was not published. Years later, in 2018, she was seemingly picked up by a record label called Subliminal Sounds and began releasing her music. Shiho published several records under Subliminal. Today, these can be found on her Bandcamp. Her work with Subliminal Sounds included re-releasing her first album, the one composed for Kanebo, an album called The Body is a Message of the Universe. The album featured a song called Energy Flow, which was discovered by Brad Petering and used in Everything Blue. Additionally, Yabuki also released projects with Halos Music, a different label. These appear to be absent from her Bandcamp profile, which suggests that Subliminal is responsible for managing the Bandcamp releases, and Halos is for other releases on streaming. In addition to her releases with the 2 labels though, there are also 3 recent singles that she has released with AI-generated album covers. These are sandwiched between non-AI cover releases, and there is one for 3 seasons: spring, summer, and autumn. Each single's cover has an owl and a woman at a piano. These don't match the visual style and feel of her albums. To shift from distinct ambient albums and collab records isn't impossible, just strange. Adding another layer to the mystery, these AI tracks all have the label simply listed as Shiho Yabuki in all caps, leaving her other 2 labels, Halos and Subliminal, likely unrelated to this. Halos has a track record with Yabuki going back 5 years, and Subliminal has a release in 2026 that fits in line with her other projects. At the time, it is still unknown whether these are actually Shiho releasing singles with AI album covers, or if she is being mimicked. It's certainly interesting to speculate, though. Chapter 2 is less mysterious and more interesting. It takes place in Pennsylvania in 1974, home to a woman named Shira Small. Small attended a boarding school for high school, and in her senior year was struggling in her remedial math class. At this time, Shira got into transcendental meditation, which, when paired with math class, gave her inspiration for songwriting. The infinite possible points on a mathematical line felt like a transcendental metaphor waiting to happen. And given the time of history Shira was living through, the era of the Vietnam War, there was naturally a lot of discourse and division. She noticed the atmosphere of contemporary music and how it centered on the finite nature of life, and wanted to contrast it with songs about how long, important, and beautiful life truly is. Combining all these factors, she had infinite songwriting inspiration to draw from. She would have ideas in the middle of the night and write them down before they slipped her mind. Seeing her potential, Shira's high school music teacher suggested she record and compile an album of her songs. Using funds from pre-sales and donations, she pressed 500 copies of her record, titled The Line of Time and the Plane of Now. Many years afterward, the album was discovered and picked up by a record label obsessed with obscure and lost music. Later, it was found by a TV girl who chopped and sampled the beginning and end of the chorus, as well as some piano chords.
Eternal life is the intersection of the line of time and the plane of now. We live forever. "26 years after Shira's album, it was now 2000. Four friends, aged 11 and 9, wanted to write songs about the time of life they were moving through. Aiden Maeri, Jessica Hall, Janet Washburn, and her sister Mary were in between years of school, as it was the summer, with the oldest three entering middle school. They wrote their own lyrics and turned to Janet and Mary's mother, Robin O'Brien, an avid self-recorder on tape, asking for help in making an album. In her home studio, she helped them record a collection of their written songs. The tracks needed more than just their vocals, though, so she asked their stepfather, Don Campau, for the backing tracks. Though it took a while, their songs were adjusted to fit electronica-style songs composed by someone in the stepfather's musical network. They decided to call their band X-Cetra. O'Brien made a CD of the album, titled Stardust, but by that time, the girls had outgrown it. They didn't sound the way that they had envisioned, and it made them self-conscious. Since it was burned to a CD physically, though, it lived on. Things like that have a way of growing in the shadows. It ended up on the Internet Archive. The album gradually spread through ripped videos on YouTube and made its way across forums and music review sites, and it was even played by college radio stations. Eventually, the girls found out about the album's secret second lifespan online. A user on Rate Your Music in 2020 reached out to Robin O'Brien through the credits. Quote, "I sent her an email. To my surprise, she responded almost immediately and confirmed that she was, in fact, the person who had produced the record. I explained that it's developed a bit of a cult following online, and that people in certain pockets of the internet were simultaneously charmed and a little confused by it." End quote. Having totally forgotten about it and only now seeing it resurface, they grew to appreciate it more than in their middle school years. During the pandemic, they reconnected and talked about all the strange resurfacings their record had had on the internet. In 2023, a representative of an archival lost media music label reached out to them after having been recommended the band by a friend. He and his label wanted to re-release the record in time for its 25th anniversary. This new version was called Summer 2000 and was sampled by TV Girl in their similarly titled track. After this newfound success, Aiden produced a documentary about the band and the album. It has not yet been made available anywhere online. The group that discovered Shira Small was the very same group that reached out to X-Cetra about their re-release. They are known as the Numero Group, a record label and merch store focused on bringing back the most obscure artists, bands, and records back from the dead. In the years after 2020, Brad Petering seemingly took a liking to the overwhelming amount of old, unknown music in Numero's catalog and picked out several examples he found interesting. In addition to the ones on Fauxllennium, Brad has used samples from the Numero Group on Jump the Turnstile and The Party's Not Over, both from TV Girl's collab album, Summer's Over. Numero has also signed several artists and bands that are more well-known: Duster, Husker Du, Love's Lies Crushing, Should, and more. In addition, they are part of Secretly Group, a label collective with extremely far-reaching connections. Other members of Secretly include Jag Jaguar, the label behind Bon Iver, Gia Margaret, and Chanel Beads; Secretly Canadian, the label of Current Joys and allegedly of Electric Youth; and Dead Oceans, the label that signs Japanese Breakfast, Phoebe Bridgers, Kevin Morby, and Slowdive. Brad Petering's samples are obscure, but clearly not as obscure as some may think. The fascinating stories behind the samples from TV Girls' songs add more interesting layers of depth to them. Their connections to the Numero group remind us that everything in the music world is more connected than we realize, that the music industry isn't about what you know, but who. This video essay was created by the Small Artists Initiative. If you've made it this far in the video and you have skills, some free time, and a passion for music, we need your help. The initiative is looking for volunteers to fill a couple of roles. In the description, you can apply to be a content planner, video editor, or thumbnail designer. Thanks for your time, and don't forget to keep exploring new sounds.